Why is Gen Z struggling to save money? It's not just bad habits, it's a different world. Every generation thinks the next one is weaker. Boomers say millennials are entitled. Millennials say Gen Z is too sensitive. Gen Z says the system is broken. But let's drop the stereotypes for a minute. Why is Gen Z actually struggling to save money? Is it laziness? Too much Starbucks? Too many vacations? Too much DoorDash? Or is something deeper happening? Let's break it down honestly. Gen Z entered the most expensive era in modern history. Timing matters. Gen Z didn't enter adulthood during cheap housing, stable wages, and predictable growth. They entered adulthood during record high rent prices, skyrocketing home values, post-pandemic inflation, student debt burdens, a volatile job market, and global political instability. In major cities, rent has doubled compared to what older generations paid at the same age. In many European cities, housing afford is at its worst level in decades. Buying a home in your mid-20s? For many Gen Z, that's not a goal, it's fantasy. When housing eats 30–50 of your income, saving becomes a luxury. Wages didn't rise as fast as costs. Yes, wages have increased, but not proportionally. Entry-level salaries have barely kept pace with inflation, and in some sectors, they've fallen behind. Meanwhile, healthcare costs are higher. Insurance is more expensive. Transportation costs more. Groceries cost more. Energy bills cost more. Older generations built wealth during periods of strong wage growth, affordable housing, expanding middle-class jobs. Gen Z entered during automation, disruption, contract work, gig economy instability. The economic ladder didn't disappear. It just became steeper. The gig economy changed financial stability. Gen Z is the most freelance-heavy generation in history. They drive rideshare. They freelance online. They create content. They build side hustles. They switch jobs often. Flexibility? Yes. Predictability? Not always. Saving money requires stability. Gig income fluctuates. One month you're fine. The next month you're stressed. Traditional financial advice was built for 9-to-5 jobs with stable paychecks. Gen Z lives in a world of project contracts, platform algorithms, and certain bonuses, performance-based income. It's harder to budget when income isn't consistent. Social media created a constant comparison machine. Older generations compared themselves to neighbors. Gen Z compares themselves to the entire planet. Every day they see 23-year-olds making six figures online, influencers traveling the world, entrepreneurs retiring at 28, crypto millionaires, perfect apartments, perfect bodies, perfect lifestyles. Even if most of it is curated, filtered, or exaggerated emotionally, it feels real. And here's the psychological effect. When the future feels uncertain and everyone else looks ahead of you, the brain shifts towards short-term pleasure. Why sacrifice everything if I may never reach that level anyway? This is not stupidity. It's human psychology under pressure. Student debt is a structural obstacle. In the United States especially, student debt is a major factor. Many Gen Z graduates start their careers already in negative net worth. They're not building savings. They're servicing debt. Even in parts of Europe where tuition is lower, housing and living costs during university have increased significantly. When you start life financially behind, saving feels like climbing uphill. Mental health costs are real. Gen Z is more open about mental health than any generation before. They seek therapy. They prioritize work-life balance. They leave toxic jobs faster. They avoid burnout more intentionally. Some older generations see this as weakness, but here's the reality: chronic burnout destroys long-term earning potential. Still, therapy, time off, and prioritizing well-being can mean higher short-term costs. Gen Z isn't just spending on consumption. They're spending on emotional survival. And in a world that moves 24/7, that matters. Inflation hit at a critical time. Inflation after the pandemic hit Gen Z right as many were entering the workforce. Their first full-time salaries were immediately diluted by rising costs. Food prices rose, rent surged, interest rates increased, car prices spiked. Imagine starting your financial life during one of the fastest cost increases in decades. Saving requires margin. Inflation erased margin. The experience economy shift. Gen Z values experiences more than possessions. Travel, concerts, festivals, dining, memories. Older generations built wealth in part because they bought assets early and held them. Gen Z invests more in experiences. Is that wrong? Not necessarily, but experiences don't compound financially the way assets do. And without intentional financial planning, experience-driven spending reduces long-term savings. Financial literacy is available but scattered. Ironically, Gen Z has access to more financial information than any generation in history. Yet much of it is short-form, sensationalized, focused on quick wins, crypto-heavy, get-rich-fast oriented. Few viral videos explain emergency funds, long-term index investing, debt strategy, risk management, insurance planning. There's more noise than clarity, and in a noisy environment, confusion replaces discipline. The economy rewards extremes. Today's economy increasingly rewards high-level skills, tech literacy, digital leverage, capital ownership. Average jobs don't stretch as far as they used to. Gen Z sees two extremes: struggling paycheck-to-paycheck workers, online entrepreneurs making massive income. The middle feels smaller. That perception changes behavior. Some think if average doesn't lead to security anymore, why play safe? So they take bigger risks, sometimes wisely, sometimes not. Gen Z has seen companies lay off thousands overnight, startups collapse, banks fail, housing markets crash, political instability grow. When long-term stability feels fragile, long-term sacrifice feels less rational. Saving money requires belief in the future, and belief has been shaken. But let's be honest, some of it is behavior. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Not all of it is systemic. Some of it is habits. Impulse spending, buy now, pay later traps, subscription overload, lifestyle inflation, financial avoidance. The system is harder, yes, but personal discipline still matters. And this is where Gen Z has power. So what's the real answer? Is Gen Z bad with money? No. Are they facing a tougher environment? Yes. Are there still opportunities? Absolutely. The tools available today are unprecedented: remote work, global freelancing, digital businesses, low-cost investing platforms, financial education access, content monetization, productivity leverage. The same internet that fuels comparison also creates income potential. The system is harder, but the leverage is bigger. What actually works for Gen Z today? Traditional advice doesn't fully apply anymore. Just save 10% and wait 40 years feels disconnected from current realities. Instead, build a small emergency fund first 3 months. Separate spending and saving accounts automatically. Kill unnecessary subscriptions. Avoid lifestyle comparison. Develop one globally marketable skill. Build at least one additional income stream. Invest consistently, even small amounts. Control digital consumption triggers. Gen Z doesn't need 1980 strategies. They need 2025 strategies. The hard truth: if Gen Z uses older generation expectations as benchmarks, they will feel permanently behind. Home at 25, marriage at 27, retirement plan at 30. Those timelines were built in different economic conditions. Comparing across eras without adjusting for context creates unnecessary shame. But here's the flip side: excuses don't build wealth either. The environment is tougher. That means strategy must be sharper. Final thought: Gen Z isn't financially weak. They are financially early in the most expensive, competitive, and digitally manipulated era in history. Saving is harder, housing is harder, stability is harder, but opportunity is also broader. The generation that learns to master digital leverage, ignore comparison, build skills globally, manage money intentionally, will build wealth differently, not traditionally. The question isn't, why can't Gen Z save like boomers? The better question is, what does financial success look like in a completely different economic era? Because the rules changed, and the generation that adapts fastest wins.